right-hand climber, and I'm with the conservative leadership trend. Today we have Representative Clay Staires. Would you please tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. My name is Clay Staires. I am the representative for District 66 here in Skiatook, Sperry, and Skiatook, Sperry, and Sand Springs. How about that? And I also have a business consulting firm called the Leadership Initiative. And our team works with about 200 small business owners all over the country, helping them grow their business, get to a point where they have financial freedom as well as time freedom.
Well, we're going to jump right into the questions. What is the most important quality a leader should have?
So, the most important quality that a leader should have, is that, okay. I personally, you're getting Clay's opinions here. And I would think that leadership begins with vision. And a leader without a vision is not a leader. And vision, I've discovered over time that vision is not natural for people. Everybody doesn't have vision, and I have yet to discover how to help somebody get vision. You know, it's kind of such a personal thing. I don't know if you can just read a book on how to gain vision. You know, I don't know exactly how that works, but growing up, both my mom and dad, Don and Shirley Staires, were both very strong visionaries. And then my brother and both of my sisters, visionaries. So I grew up in a family of visionaries. So I think I just kind of picked that up. And so I think even from a young age, I've been very blessed to always have a burning vision for the next step in my life. And so I think for sure that vision is where leadership begins. And you can learn all kinds of leadership skills. You know, you can read books about leadership. You can get John Maxwell and just read every single book that he has. But until there is a personal vision, there's no place to apply that, if that makes sense. And so you can have great skills. And I think a lot of times those skills that you have may just be good management skills. But I've also found out that vision without administration, okay, or vision without execution is hallucination. And I definitely lived in that world for a while when I had all these leadership skills, but I didn't know how to bring the vision about. So you can get people real excited about your vision, even with your nonprofit that you're starting. You can talk about the vision. People go, it's wonderful, it's awesome. But now you've actually got to go execute that vision.
And is that the reason you started your business, was because you had so much leadership skills you didn't know?
I'm just busting. Yeah. Well, you know, it is interesting. I found that, you know, I was a high school science teacher and coach for 15 years. And looking back at that time, back through the 90s and early 2000s, that was, I can look back at it now and realize that's where I was beginning to really gain a lot of those leadership skills. And I would have a vision or a plan for my classroom or for my athletic teams. But now I had to go bring that about. I had to make sure it happened. And and then once I left teaching, I took over running a nonprofit organization, a Christian summer camp called Shepherd's Fold Ranch that my mom and dad started with their vision. And which is another interesting thing. You can lead somebody else's vision, but you can only go so far with somebody else's vision, until if you have personal vision and you're leading somebody else's vision, eventually it'll be like, okay, these shoes are too small for me. I need to go further. And so that's why I left Shepherd's Fold Ranch and started my own company, because it was like, all right, my vision is bigger than this. And so there was just this, okay, it doesn't fit anymore. I want to, you get restless and stuff like that to move to the next level. And then of course you put your feet, metaphorically speaking, you put your feet into shoes that are way too big because you've just started working toward a new vision. And so it takes time to grow into that. And so that's probably the main reason why I left one thing and started the leadership initiative, and just feeling like, okay, this is my next step. I don't fully have all the clarity and all that kind of stuff, and it took a good 4 years to get that up and running. And so in that time, that first 4 years, it's the vision inside of you that continues to burn, that gives you the energy to plow through all of the disappointment and the frustration and the setbacks and the spending without the earning and all of that kind of stuff. It's that vision that keeps you going. And that's a big part of knowing, okay, this is much more than just an idea. This is a real vision, almost a calling that I feel. I think a lot of people have a fun idea to start a business or to start some type of organization. But those early days of the plowing and the struggle and the difficulty and the trying to get it going, through that struggle, it kind of eats up the ideas, burns up the idea, and where the vision can remain, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. What are some common challenges that young leaders face in today's world?
Some common challenges that young leaders face in today's world. And good question. How about this? I'll give you my answer through my perspective and my from my view.
Okay.
Now, if you were to ask a bunch of young leaders, they may give you some different answers. But from an old leader looking at the world today and emerging leaders, the struggles that I see young leaders having, I think one of the main things that I see as a struggle for young leaders is the ability to stick with something through the difficulty and through the hard. I've worked with, over the past 25 years, I've worked with a lot of young leaders, and just I've seen that is probably the most difficult thing that they deal with. Is I have an idea, I want that idea to be ready to go right now. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't work like that. I think the pace of leadership is crushing. And most people are not emotionally prepared for the crushing of leadership. And I look at it, and I remember going through this and having my own struggle. It wasn't like I just, I had no emotions, I definitely did. But the longer I've been a leader, the more I've come to understand that the pace of leadership is much, much slower than than we want it to be. We want it to go so much faster. We want people to understand it quicker. We want people, as a leader, we want people to follow us quicker. You know, starting a nonprofit organization, you have this vision to help people, and you want to help people now. And you want people to come to you and say, please help me. And you just want that to happen quickly, and it doesn't. And I think that the struggle and the pace is there. If I could say that the universe has designed it that way. I think Napoleon Hill calls it the great unseen hand. You know, God, you know, however you want to talk about this, the Holy Spirit, the pace is slow because it's the pace that develops character. And I have always been a big fan of the phrase that a leader that has been put into place too quickly is a leader that you need to be very cautious with, because they haven't had the time in the struggle to develop the character needed. And so many times young leaders, even though they're great people and they may have great skills, there is, what is it, the three things: you need knowledge, you need skill, and you need character. And a lot of times when, and I've fallen for this too, fallen for this trap, you can see a young person that hasn't had a lot of experience yet, but you can see skills and knowledge and talent inside of them, and you go, I'm going to put you in leadership, you know? And a lot of times that usually doesn't work out real well. And you can even hurt that leader because you give them too much responsibility based on their skill and talent and their gifting rather than on their character. So I think that that's probably from my perspective, one of the most difficult aspects of leadership that young leaders will be confronted with is the development of character, because it's hard. It's not fun. It's not what you picture. I think I want to be a leader. Difficulty. I mean, you don't have that vision of leadership, of the difficulty that you'll go through. But that's why I think it's imperative as a young leader, and this may be number 2 on the list, okay, if we're doing a list here. And I may come up with 4 by the time we get done with this, but 4 seems to be my number. But number 1, I think it's the pace that people aren't prepared for, that character building phase. And we think that if we're messing up and it's frustrating and it's hard, we think we're doing it wrong. And we just don't have the mental or emotional capacity to handle that, so we give up on it. So that'd be number 1. Number 2, I would think that it is just the ability to stick with it long term. And so it may be the same thing, but just being able to press through, hang on, and not give up. And probably the most difficult things, I think, for young leaders. And probably number 3 is not knowing, see, here it comes, not knowing how to interpret the struggle. And not having somebody in their life that can help them interpret what's going on. And invariably, if you are a young leader in the midst of that struggle, you will interpret the struggle incorrectly. And you'll probably go negative, and that's when frustration leads to discouragement, and discouragement leads to giving up. So having a mentor, having somebody in your life that can continue to help you interpret what's going on is invaluable. And then number 4, I think the reason why and this again, I've lived all of these, so it's like, this was me. I don't really have to look at a lot of other people, I can just look at me. But I think number 4 and it's connected to number 3, is the pride. And we don't want to have a mentor because we got it. I'm good. Because probably the first thing a mentor is going to say is, you're wrong. And it's like, ugh. Having that pride to be able to receive instruction is very, what's the word? Having the willingness and the humility to receive instruction is very rare. Very rare. And so I've had a lot of young leaders that have come to me and say, Clay, help me with this. Sure, I'll help you with that. And as soon as their idea conflicts with my idea, they're gone. Because they're just, I don't think you really understand. I don't think you understand me. There's all kinds of excuses, and yeah, that's really good for your generation, but I don't think you really understand me and how it works today. And of course I'm sitting over here going, okay, you go with it. You go with it. Because although, yes, the world has changed quite a bit just over the last 3 years, but just over the last 5 decades or something like that, things are very different in the world, no doubt. But leadership remains the same. Leadership remains the same. The principles of leadership are eternal. And but again, I want to go faster, so it's hard if anybody's around me that's pulling on the reins, and that was me. I was always the patience, as I said, the pace of leadership is crushing, and then you got to listen to people. It took me 47 years. That's embarrassing to say, but it's true. It took me 47 years before I had the willingness to go to somebody and say, tell me what to do, and I'll do it. Up to that point, I got it. I'll figure it out. And I was that person that as soon as my mentor disagreed with me, I would have all kinds of reasons to say, I just don't really think you quite understand it, and I would just move away from them. So.
Who was the person that you went to with?
That would be my business coach that I have right now. His name is Clay Clark. And I had, like I said, I'd been a school teacher. I had been in ministry. I had received a lot of awards and acclamations for my leadership ability. But I was not, it's one of those things of you look at your life and you're going, it's not that it's been a bad life, but I just haven't gotten where I want to be in my life. And I'm a big fan of my destiny. This is a great thing for young leaders. It's a neat thing for them to go, oh, that's cool. It's a whole other thing to really follow up on it. But I remember hearing one time that your destiny is locked in the hearts of your fathers or your mentors, And so for me to reach my destiny, I can't reach my destiny on my own. I have to go and knock on doors of mentors, fathers and mothers, and consultants and advisors and counselors that can help me get there. And I just wasn't willing to do that. I thought I had it on my own, and I'll figure it out. And so at 47 years old, I was just looking around going, I have done this all on my own, obviously with the help of the Lord and everything, but I just hadn't submitted to a leader, a mentor, somebody that could help me get there. And so when I decided to start my own business, I knew immediately, okay, I know I've got some gifts. I've been able to turn some of those gifts into talents. I know I've got a vision, but I don't know how to build a business around that. So 47 years old, I went to Clay Clark and said, tell me what to do and I'll do it. And now, 11, 12 years later, my life is just, I never thought I would be here in this place in my life. So it's gone beyond what I thought was possible for me. And I think the key to that was that willingness to submit.
How can organizations like the Conservative Leadership Trend create more exclusive environment for young leaders?
The way, all right, yeah. So I think the way that any company, whether it be a for-profit or nonprofit, either way, how do you draw people to you? You know, and that is a big part of leadership. How do you draw people to you? And again, that goes back to the very first thing that we were talking about is what's the most important quality of a leader? Vision. The way that you draw people to you is you have vision. Okay? And then what you do is just go out and speak and communicate your vision clearly to as many people as possible. And people that share your vision will be drawn to you. People that don't share your vision will not be drawn to you. And some people will even throw rocks at you because they think your vision is wrong. You know? And again, if you're not careful, you could misinterpret that and think, I need to have a vision that includes everybody. Good luck with that. If you do that, you will let a lot of people into your organization that don't share your vision. And so now when you're trying to take people somewhere along your path, you've got a whole lot of people that are with you that don't want to go where you want to go. And so it makes it so much harder. And along the way, you'll begin to doubt yourself. I'm not a good leader. When really it's like, no, you just have chosen to let a lot of people into your group that don't want to go where you want to go. And so the way to draw is just like a light to a moth. You've got to get out there and shine the light of your vision and let people respond to that. And so you'll learn as you do it, you'll learn and get better and better at how to communicate your vision. And the true art of leadership, I think it was Dwight Eisenhower, a past president of ours. He said that the art of leadership is getting people to do what you want them to do because they want to do it. And that last part, that's the key in leadership. Getting people to do what you want them to do because they want to do it is the whole thing. And that's where the vision comes in. And so when people are getting on board with your vision in the midst of the struggle and difficulty, you can encourage people to stick with you because of the vision, not because of the immediate rewards. But isn't this fun? You know, it's not fun every day. It's not fun. And so I think that when it comes to whether it's for-profit or non-profit, or just anything, you know, you just any kind of leadership, to get people to draw to you is going to, you have to have a compelling vision that draws people, and understanding that your vision won't draw everyone, and being able to interpret those folks as, okay, you're just not one of my followers. Doesn't make them a bad person, they're just not one of your followers. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so it's just learning how to communicate, and that's where all of your marketing comes in, you know, and all your platforms, as we were talking about. It's just all of those are just all of the different ways, all of the different modes that you're going to use to get your vision out there, you know. And so, ta-da.
So you have your book, Just Don't Suck, and you talk about outcomes of a successful business: productivity, profitability, employment retention, and customer service. Can a business survive without those four?
Not long. Yeah, and one thing that I remember talking about those four things, and those four things weren't my ideas. It wasn't like Clay has come up with 4 outcomes. I mean, that was a from research that I'd done on another book that a couple of authors had written, and they had come up with these 4 things. And there was one on there that that I didn't fully agree with, but this book wasn't really the time to go into it, you know. But this interview could be. The one on employee retention. I'm not a huge fan of measuring employee retention, because I think if you put an emphasis on that, if you're not careful, you can keep employees that you really need to get rid of. You know, again, it goes back to, as we are leading and going down this path, there may be a group of people that are perfect during this season or this phase of the path that you're on in your company. But as you move forward, some of those people that were great at one season may not be the best at the next season. But if you are focused on, and we've got to keep people with us, you might hold on to people that you need to let go of. So if I were to dive into that in more detail, it would be, I like employee retention, but it's more, do we have the right people in the right seats going in the right direction? It'd be that type of thing, as opposed to, do we have the same people? Because I don't know that that always works. So, but yes, if you don't have production in an organization, it's just a hobby. It's something you do on the side. You're just not going to make it. You know, again, vision without execution is hallucination. So you can get a whole lot of people that really like your vision, but if nothing is getting accomplished, you know, if production isn't happening, then good luck. You know, you're just not going to go very far. You can have a dream to go far, but you're still in the parking lot. And so I would say yes. I would say yes to your question, that businesses can't be successful without those 4 things in greater and greater and greater measures. I think when those 4 things become limited, then that's what limits the growth of the company. Is that fair enough?
How do you respond to criticism and feedback from your constituents, and how do you incorporate that feedback into what you do?
Okay. Yeah, anytime you are leading humans, you are going to experience criticism, and but at the same time, you'll experience a lot of positive feedback. You know, you'll find that in some areas of your leadership, somebody is all for you. This is awesome. But in another area of leadership, that same person is like, what? And you're getting a lot of criticism from them. And again, it doesn't mean that people are wrong or people are bad. It's just the way or where you are leading. And again, when it comes to being able to continue to lead in the midst of negative criticism and positive feedback. If you are listening too much to the negative criticism and positive feedback, it's going to be difficult for you to continue to lead toward your vision. It's the vision that keeps you going. It's the vision that keeps you on the path. If you begin to listen too much or respond too much to the outer voices, doesn't mean that you don't listen to them by any means. But if you allow those voices to direct you rather than the vision directing you, then it's going to be a windy path. And it can be really, really difficult. And if you're not careful, you can find yourself ending up at a destination that is very different than your vision, because you have been listening to other people. So number one, I think it is very important to listen to the people that you are leading. If you're not careful, I think a lot of leaders can make that mistake, that we just don't listen to people. And so again, it comes down to, are the people that you're leading, do they share your vision? And if they share your vision, then I think the listening and the communicating and everything is really good. But if you get people that are following you that do not share your vision, no communication, no explanation is going to fit, because they just don't share your vision. And especially being a legislator in the political world, when here in Oklahoma, in the United States, we have two different parties involved here. I could easily have a member of this party talking to me over here in this party saying, I think you should do this. And it's like, no, we're not going to do that, because that's not in my mentality. It's not in my my wheelhouse. It's not in my vision. And so we could sit here and argue back and forth with one another and just wear each other out, but we're not going to come to agreement. Yeah. And so I think that this is an area that I'm looking forward to as a representative, is leading in the midst of very different principles, and because we've got in District 66, we've got about 40,000 people, right around there, 40,000 people, and there is a percentage of those people that are not a part of my party. They're a part of the other party. Doesn't make them wrong, doesn't make them bad. It just makes them very different. And in today's world, the differences between the two mentalities in the parties are becoming more and more and more different. And it can be really difficult when you say, we've got to have unity. It's like, we're on two different poles. I don't know that we are going to be able to find unity in this issue. Let's look for areas where we can find unity, because we ain't going to find it here, And so again, as a leader, it's one thing. It's like when I was a high school coach, and in high school, you're not in public high schools, you're not able to go out and recruit and build your team. You've got to use the kids that are there at your school. Yeah. And so every year as a head coach, I would get these kids that would come out to play that sport. And it's like, okay, I've got to build a team around who I got, Yeah. As opposed to as a business owner. And when I was running Shepherd's Fold Ranch, the summer camp, I'm able to go out and recruit people that fit my vision. But as a coach, I just had to work with what I got. And then here as a legislator, these are the people that I have been elected to lead. And so I don't know that it would be healthy or helpful for me to just say, dun, 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 here's where we're going, everybody line up. It just doesn't work like that. I have to listen, and I have to take into consideration where the people are wanting to go. Is that fair enough?
Well, that was my last question. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
And
see you next week.